Hey now, welcome to my chicken coop build video. This is part one where I went from basically a completely dead space back here between this tree and my brick smoker, planned out what I wanted to do, got the basic framing done for the actual chicken coop, and was ready to start flooring and insulating and all that. So let's go along for the ride. This is where the coop's going to go, right here, next to the smoker and the shed, in between that and this tree, and actually kind of tucking behind this tree. The coop itself is going to be mainly right here, extending out this way, basically as far as this pad in front of the smoker, and then the run will go underneath and tuck behind that tree a bit too, because that's just completely dead, wasted space right now, and it's impossible to grow grass here, so might as well rip that out and make it a run. I picked up a half yard of some road crushed gravel, and that's going to be my base here. I'm not actually taking the grass out or anything like that. If grass winds up growing up through the gravel, that's 100% fine, because the chickens are just going to peck away at it and eat it. So that's all good. There's a little dip here. I'll just add some more gravel there. Although, like, overall, it's reasonably level. So I don't think I'll really do any grading to the yard here at all. I'm just going to put down, in some spots it'll be a little thinner, a little thicker, in others some gravel, and I'll see how that's going to work for the 4x4 base. Well, I've got a bit of a base layer of gravel down. I'm just kind of spreading it out here with the rake. Then I'm going to tamp it down just a little bit with the back end of that flat shovel I was using. And then it's time to take a look at getting those 4x4s out here, cut to the right length, because they're going to make up the base of the coop. I'm going to be building the base for this out of 4x4. This is MicroPro Sienna pressure treated wood. Now, pressure treated wood isn't super good for livestock because it can leach out possible chemicals and things that aren't that good. This MicroPro stuff, the 4x4s are rated for ground contact and whatnot, and from what I've read, it's not as bad as a lot of other pressure treated stuff. And it's going to be, my intention is to have it sort of mainly covered up anyway with some gravel and whatnot. So I'm not expecting the chickens to peck away at it too much or anything like that, so it shouldn't be a problem. Plus, as this is the base that'll be in contact with the ground and most likely to get wet and all that, it should last a lot longer and be more stable and won't rot out. I'm going to cut all these up here just using my miter saw. Now that I have all of the 4x4s cut, I'm going to actually treat them, and I'm going to do that before I assemble anything, and I'm just going to use this Bare Premium Transparent Waterproofing Wood Finish, in case you can't read. I'm using this because it's a water base, and so therefore it should be a little bit gentler, a little less potentially toxic for the old chickies there. So this is what I'm going to do just to help protect this wood a little bit further. Now, unfortunately, we are about to have a nice big old storm, so I don't get to do this outside, which had been my original plan, because I don't want to risk this getting dumped on by rain. So I've got some sawhorses set up in the horribly filled already garage, and just using a paintbrush here, I'm just going to be applying this this water treatment product around as much of the wood as I can. And then let it dry, flip it over, do the other side here, and it'll be ready to go. Okay, I need to cut the 2x4s that are going to be elevating the coop. So I'm going to cut those 2 feet long, and then they'll be secured right on top of the 4x4s, and that'll give the chickens a decent amount of vertical height to mess around in that run. I'm also going to go ahead and just give these a quick sanding with my palm sander, just so that they're a little bit smooth, because I will be handling them and they will be exposed once the coop is finished. All right, there we are, and it was also a good way to get rid of the stamps that were on here, just so you don't see that in the finished product. I've got all my 4x4s treated, they're laid out, they're on the gravel, they're relatively all level, so now it's time to actually secure them. I'm going to do that using these heavy-duty plates here, just putting them on like this, and I'm going to be using these deck screws here, just because they'll hold up to the elements as well as the pressure treated wood. I realized that going through here, it's not going to be completely flush, like it will be sticking up just a little bit like that. However, I'd rather use these screws than something that will rust and not hold up. So let's go ahead and get this all fastened together. All right, one down, 7 more to go. Just to be sure we have a nice tight corner here that can't possibly rotate, because this is kind of sinking down just a little bit. I'm also going to use some of these brackets here on the inside, and I'm just going to secure those using some 1.5 inch deck screws. Just like that. There we go, all nicely secured together. This base is quite solid. Time to move on. Now it's time to actually put in these 2x4s, and these are going to elevate the coop, and then basically allowing there to be a run underneath it. So I have these all at 24 inches, and I'm going to use some of these little L brackets here again, just to secure those on. I'm installing these just nice and flush to both sides right in the corner here. With all these vertical supports for the coop up, I now want to run some boards this way, so I'm just going to screw them in, attaching them like this with the screws. Just keeping everything flush. While my children frolic in the pool, I'm getting these pieces on here. So I had to do this as two sections, and I just ran some screws through on the angle there to do that. And I'm just going to do cross beams here at either end, and probably one in the middle too, just for a little extra support. All the supports are up here now for the coop itself, and we're just painting it or water treating it with that same product that we use on the 4x4s. I built an access panel here that just fits really nicely into this spot, and that was just put together by firing some screws in to each corner, as well as a couple here, again just kind of crisscrossing across. And now it's quite sturdy. This is going to be a panel that I can pop out in order to access underneath the run. To help keep out predators and rodents and stuff like that, I've got this 1/4 inch hardware mesh, this galvanized steel hardware mesh that I need to unroll here and get installed. All of the mesh for the ground is all secured, so that was all stapled on underneath. We're going to be adding gravel on top of this, as well as a nice thick layer of mulch, but that'll happen a little bit later on. Now I'm ready to cut the exterior floor for the actual coop. This is going to go on top of that 2x4 base that I have set up. So this is 7 feet by 4 feet. Okay, I'm just going ahead here and securing this onto these 2x4s. I'll do the 4 corners first, just making sure everything's flush, and then I'll go around and add some more screws. Okay, I need to cut my my 2x4 framing here for the inside, and I want to cut it at an angle that I'll be needing for the slope of the roof. I'm going to be running from 48 inches to 46.5 inches across the 4 feet, because I'm running this direction with that. So I thought the easiest way to do that would be just to run a chalk line. So here, hold this right in the corner, and that'll allow me to simulate this slope just like so. There we go. So I can cut this, and then once I have that cut, I can do the other two boards that'll be on the other corner, just like that. So I took these boards after they were cut. I should have mentioned that they weren't actually going from 48 to 46.5. I did have them cut 1.5 inches shorter, so I could run this 2x4 underneath. And I secured them on using a couple of screws up into these boards from below, and now I'm actually just attaching this 2x4 using several screws here just throughout, and yeah, that'll hold this part of the wall on really nicely. I've done the same thing here with the second set. I got them in. Now, because this was running just across the plywood and there wasn't a 2x4 underneath, I used 1 3/4 inch construction screws there which is fine because there's no access to moisture and it's not through pressure treated wood. And I did bump this back. This is 16 inches back here, and that's going to allow me to also construct an insulated, this is going to be the nesting box back here with a lid and stuff like that. And there we are, nicely secured. On that plywood there, I put some of this, it's a R5 rated insulation. It's just this foam insulation, which was really nice. It'll give just a little bit more insulation to the floor here, and I'm going to throw another 1/2 inch sheet of plywood on top of it. Worried that there might be a storm coming, but I just went ahead and actually added in a couple of 2x4s here that will not only actually kind of brace these corners a little bit better, but that's what we're going to use in order to put in and brace behind this panel, just like that. And that way, there we go, it just tucks in right nicely against those boards. That's it for part 1. Check out part 2 where we go through the flooring, I get all the wiring installed, finish up the walls and insulation, and get the house wrap on.